Surely you've already heard of Nargles, of Onzobulos, or even the Crumple-Horned Snorkak. And what do they have in common? Luna Lovegood and her father believe they are real. But are they? Hey there, folks. How's it going? Luna Lovegood is a very eccentric girl who had an innocent honesty that could be painfully inconvenient at times. And despite her wild ideas, believing in creatures no one had ever heard of, and making statements far from reality, Luna was sweet. And anyone who had her friendship could consider themselves very lucky.
When she was just 9 years old, Luna saw her mother, Pandora, die when a spell she was creating went wrong.
That was intense and traumatic. She was only 9, watching her mother die. From then on, Luna was raised by her father, who had to bury the love of his life and still be the safe haven for his daughter who had just lost her mother. A very difficult task, and certainly a very painful one as well. After all, a child is constantly developing, learning about everything, learning to deal with feelings and to interact with other people.
And an event like this completely shakes the structure of a family.
At the age of 11, like every young witch in Great Britain, Luna Lovegood began her studies at Hogwarts, and she was sorted into Ravenclaw House. There was just a small problem. It didn't take long for her classmates to start mocking, making fun of, and excluding Luna for being a little different. Soon, she started being called Loony Lovegood, and it was common for her personal belongings to disappear and be hidden somewhere.
On some occasions, she even walked barefoot around the castle because she couldn't find her shoes. And this is where a theory comes in that I received a lot.
In my DMs on Instagram, which says the following: I could never see Harry Potter the same way again after I found out that the Nargles, the creatures that used to hide Luna's things, actually didn't exist. It was just something her father made up so she wouldn't feel bad about her classmates bullying. I looked up the full theory, because this is just a post from someone who saw the theory.
It's a somewhat fragmented theory. Everyone says something different. But in general, it goes like this. After Pandora Lovegood's death, Xenophilius had to raise Luna on his own.
Knowing that his daughter was an extremely sensitive, curious, and different child, he found a way to protect her from the cruelty of the world without destroying her innocence. Whenever small objects disappeared or something unexplainable happened, the explanation was simple. It was the Nargles' fault. These little invisible creatures would be responsible for stealing belongings, causing confusion, and playing tricks on people. As the years went by, while Luna suffered rejection and was treated cruelly by many classmates, the existence of the Nargles would have served as a filter for her view of the world.
Instead of growing up believing that people were naturally mean, she would learn to see these events as the result of mischievous creatures, preserving her kindness and her ability to trust others.
This idea would also explain why Luna never loses her kindness. Even though she is constantly ridiculed, she doesn't become bitter, nor does she respond to hatred with more hatred. She continues to treat everyone with the same gentleness, as if there is always an explanation beyond simple human malice. From this perspective, the Nargles are no longer just magical creatures and come to represent a father's love that would do anything to keep his daughter from losing the ability to see beauty in people and in the world. Instead of allowing pain to define who Luna would become, Xenophilius would have created a fantasy capable of protecting what was most precious in her, her innocence. Cute, right? Cute. A cute theory, but it makes no sense at all. I get the appeal of this theory, I really do. Luna is a character we fall in love with, especially through the movies. In the books, it takes a little longer, because she really has those quirks that people take a while to accept, you know? That people don't understand right away. But even though I get the appeal of the theory, it needs to make sense.
It has a sweet father-daughter angle, with the father protecting his daughter and all. But it ends up failing in some areas, and those areas are very crucial.
At no point in the book does Luna say that the Nargles took her things, and she doesn't even blame them for it. The line Luna has about the Nargles in the book is when the mistletoe appears in the room of requirement, and she says, "Wow, it must be full of Nargles." And then Harry doesn't ask what it is, and then later he says to Cho, right before they kiss there, "Wow, it's full of Nargles." And Cho asks, "What's that?" And he says, "No idea." And then they kiss. Later, she also has a necklace made of butterbeer corks, which is to ward off Nargles. But at no point in the book does she say that the Nargles took her things. that they made her things disappear.
What happens is that in the movie, then yes, we have someone to blame here.
The movie has the scene where Luna is there in the forest, barefoot, and feeding the Thestrals. Harry arrives. They have a conversation there, right? With Luna saying that she and her father believe Harry about Voldemort's return, and that, if she were Voldemort, she would want to isolate Harry, because alone, he would be weaker. And then, when Harry asks her where her shoes are, since her feet should be cold, she says they disappeared, that she believes it was the Nargles' fault. But there's just one problem. This scene doesn't even exist in the book. Harry sees and learns about Thestrals in the Care of Magical Creatures class with Hagrid. This scene with Luna in the forest, feeding the Thestral, doesn't exist. And her line saying, "I think it was the Nargles' fault," doesn't exist either.
But we have another important piece of evidence that refutes this theory.
The theory specifically says that Luna's father made up the story about the Nargles to protect her and to keep her innocent about how cruel people can be. But the book itself disproves this. "Why aren't you at the feast?" asked Harry. "Well, I lost most of my belongings," said Luna serenely. "People take them and hide them, you know? But since it's the last night, I really need them. So I'm putting up notices."
She says clearly that people take her belongings. She knows people take them. And then in this same passage, it says the following. A strange feeling arose in Harry.
An emotion quite different from the anger and pain that had consumed him since Sirius's death. It took him a while to realize he was feeling sorry for Luna. "Why do people hide your things?" he asked, frowning. "Well," Luna shrugged, "I guess they think I'm a bit eccentric, you know? In fact, some people call me Loony Lovegood." Harry looked at Luna, and the new feeling of pity intensified painfully. "That's no reason for them to take your things," he concluded. "Do you want help finding them?" "No," she said, smiling. "Things come back. They always come back in the end. It's just that I wanted to pack tonight anyway. Why aren't you at the feast?"
So it's clear that Luna knows exactly what's going on. That people call her loony because they think she's a bit eccentric. But even so, she's smiling.
A very important point. Luna doesn't care what people think of her. She genuinely doesn't care.
It's not like that thing. Like, so what? I don't care what others say about me, because people who say that actually do care. Luna genuinely doesn't care.
So, people take her things, and she's just like, "Okay, is that their idea of a joke? All right, I need my things back." She doesn't get angry about it. And that's exactly what's most beautiful about Luna. That's what's most genuine about her. And that wasn't created by some false fantasy her father made up to protect his daughter. Because, in my view, that would be belittling Luna and making the character seem dumb. Like, you know, oh wow, let's have her father make up a little creature that takes things just so she doesn't see how mean people can be. That assumes Luna wouldn't notice how people treat her. And that's completely unreasonable here, because she does notice. Luna isn't dumb. Just that alone was already more than enough to completely debunk that theory. But it seems like people forget that Luna's father was completely nuts. Not just a little either. He really was. He was really crazy. The guy had, in his living room, an erumpent horn that he believed was from a Crumple-Horned snorkack. And an erumpent horn is extremely dangerous, because any impact makes it explode. Which actually happened when the Death Eaters surround them there because he gave away that Harry was with him. The horn explodes. So, that's a big danger to have at home. And he, being stubborn and insisting it wasn't from a Crumple-Horned snorkack, kept it there and put both himself and Luna at great risk. Rackspurts don't exist either.
And here, I'll never forgive David Yates for putting it in the movie as if they really existed.
Just to create a scene that also isn't in the book and doesn't happen that way. Harry being found in the train compartment after being attacked by Draco. In that scene in the book, it's Tonks who finds Harry. Simply because she's on guard at the school, she notices that Harry didn't get off the train, sees that something is wrong, and goes into the compartment to check. And then, she ends up finding Harry. But then, in the Half-Blood Prince movie, they put this whole Rackspurt thing in Harry's head. He has nothing to do with it, that doesn't exist. So much so that later, after the books, Luna becomes a magizoologist. And she's forced to conclude that the Crumple-Horned snorkack really didn't exist. So, Luna's father. He's a bit crazy, you know? He's a bit crazy. Although he was a good person, he was a bit crazy with this conspiracy stuff like, wow, there's a ministry conspiracy, Operation Rotten Tooth, that Rufus Scrimgeour was a vampire. He published a lot of stuff like that in his magazine, The Quibbler. And that's why the magazine was a joke. The magazine only started to be taken seriously when that interview with Harry was published, revealing everything that happened when Voldemort returned there in the cemetery, how Cedric died, and so on. Then the magazine's sales increased a lot. And after that, he started publishing fewer of those conspiracy-type things without any proof. So, is it a cute theory? It's a cute theory, and the intention behind it is nice. But to me, it really underestimates Luna's abilities, Luna's intelligence, you know? Do you think she wouldn't notice that people are mean to her? And then, would she need to blame a creature that doesn't exist? There are lots of magical creatures in the Harry Potter universe that really do exist, you know? So it doesn't make sense. Anyway, Crumple-Horned Snorkax don't exist, Blibbering Humdingers don't exist, Nargles don't exist, and this theory, even though it has this cute intention, also doesn't make sense. Sorry, I hate being the person who refutes theories that people like, but I can't help it.
And if people ask for my opinion about the theory, well, here it is. But what about you? What do you think about the theory? Comment down below, share this episode if you liked it, and leave a like as well.
And I'll see you in the next episode of Leaky Cauldron. That is, if the Rackspurts don't scramble your brain.